Welcome back to So Bad It's Good. Today, this is your Tuesday episode. And like I told you today we're doing the pop culture roundup because everybody, for the most part, had Monday off. And I think pop culture roundup, or as my next guest pointed out to me, this is the best episode to start your work week with, I think. So this is why we are moving this to Tuesday. It's a very special occasion that we're doing this. So I hope you're having a happy Tuesday. I hope it's a gentle reentry to your work week. We are here to soften the blow for you by talking about some of the just these crazy celebrities, just this crazy pop culture world that we are so enamored by and frustrated with, and potentially it could be dragging us down like a huge albatross, but who knows? We're going to get into all of it today. Joining us once again, amazing returning guest. You might have just heard her come on to talk about her other show that just started in December called Crown Jewels with Samantha Bush. They came on, they killed, but I could talk anything. I could just read the phone book with her. But so let's get into it. Lex Niko, welcome back to the show.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Wait, I saw you, you were at the Outer Banks premiere. You were on the red carpet. What the heck is going on?
So Alyssa Publicity, she's like a TikToker. She's just recently moved to LA.
Yes. Yeah. She used to be with Dear, or she had a podcast
with Barstool. She's at Barstool. She has a podcast now. It's called Tea with Publicity. It's presented by Macy's. She's doing amazing things. But she was with Barstool in New York. Now she's in LA doing her own thing. And we obviously internet friends that you connect in real life. And she was like, I have a +1 for this Outer Banks premiere. And I'm like, well, I watched the first season in COVID in quarantine, but I hadn't watched the second one. So I was getting caught up. And then this was the season 3 premiere. But what's so interesting is because the first 2 seasons came out during COVID, this was the first time they'd had a premiere. Yeah.
Did anybody know what to even do? They're like, how do we pose for photo? I mean,
they were like having a good time. It was really cute to see. Like that cast genuinely loves each other, and crew and whole team. It was awesome. They were just so like happy to be out, it seemed.
What was it like for you though? Because the step and repeat is what they call where all the photographers are like, oh, over here. What is that like for you? How much terror goes through your brain when you're hearing people wanting to take your picture on a red carpet? That sounds like a nightmare.
I don't love getting my picture taken. I feel like I literally have like a stick up my ass because I'm so awkward like when it's happening, but it was fine. It was one guy.
I feel like I would do the picture. Robot a lot.
I know. I'm like sitting there so stiff. And I'm like, are my eyes twitching? What's going on? But no, it was a couple of photos. And then it was funny because like, I obviously wasn't interviewed by anybody, but there was Erin from E! News, The Rundown. And I guest hosted The Rundown. So Erin was there and she's like interviewing the cast, and I see like the producers who I know too. And I'm like dancing behind the camera, like saying hi. And I'm like, oh shit, this is going to look so bad on your Snapchat tomorrow.
Lex Niko, completely bizarre on red carpet.
We can't use any of this footage.
Yeah, you've ruined a lot of all of this. That's exciting though. I think as a kid, I grew up in Kansas, and like even just I remember watching Entertainment Tonight on Access Hollywood and like about a movie premiere, and you're just like, that to me is, that's the peak of fame. If you get invited to a premiere of a movie, like that is insane. And it's so funny then to demystify that a little bit when you live in Los Angeles and I've gone to some premieres, and it's never what I thought it was as a kid.
No.
Like it's exciting, but it's never like, I remember going to this is how old I am. I went to the Ocean's 11 premiere with Brad Pitt and George Clooney. And there was this huge party at UCLA afterwards where they put up this huge tent. And I'm like, wow, I'm at a party with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, which still would be exciting. But like, it's never lived up to that Ocean's 11 moment.
No. And honestly, it's crazy because like you think, obviously it's such a huge production, but like what you see when you're not in it is just like the background, right? All the good bits, but there's so much going on behind the scenes. It's busy, it's messy, it's crowded. Like it's really interesting. And obviously it's fun, but it's like, it's a lot. There's like a lot of people jammed into a small, everything seems a little bit smaller. Like
we've learned nothing from COVID. We're just jamming people on top of each other like sardines. And we don't know how to act because of the pandemic. So we're all reintroducing ourselves to these things that used to be normal. So I imagine even it increases the awkwardness of an already awkward situation.
And I don't even know, also seeing the people, like you have to stop at every single stop and get interviewed. And it's like, oh my God, it gets so exhausting. I can imagine after a time.
Well, and that's what, with these junkets, you know, a lot of these actors, you can see how exhausted they are of answering the same question again and again and again, because it really is, you're doing like sound bites for 100 different outlets from across the world and worldwide. And it really does become work. And that's why I always crack up about, the art itself of like making a TV show or an album or a movie is amazing, but then you have to sell it. That's the other thing that people don't like. That's the part that always drags me down, of like selling yourself, selling why you
got to promote it.
And especially if the show or the movie is bad, like those are like watching Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon recently on that Netflix movie. They both know the movie's horrible. They know it, and they know it, and they're trying to like still show some sort of excitement, and they can barely generate enough to power a small room.
I haven't watched that movie yet. Did you watch it?
No, why would I watch a movie that everybody's like, this is unequivocally bad, and not even in a fun, bad way? This is just bad.
It's like, so I can't bring myself to watch it because I'm like, everyone just says it's not good.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. But I like how we are masochists in a way where you're like, this is so bad that I might even have to watch this. Like this might be, but like people are like saying, somebody told me the other day that they thought this might be the first movie written by ChatGPT, which is that AI program.
Yeah.
They're like, because they're like, it just doesn't, it's like what they think a romantic comedy should be, but it never really launches at any point. And I thought that was funny that we could potentially have artificial intelligence write full movie. They'll be bad, but it could still write a full movie.
But it could happen. It might be happening. It's yeah.
Have you watched Selling Sunset in the past, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, Chrishell, who's one of the leads of that show, she was at a premiere for her Lifetime movie.
Yes.
And which cracks me up, because that's the other thing too about perception, is that like, okay, you're like, oh wow, a premiere for a Lifetime movie. But what I think with hers is very different than the Outer Banks one, which seemed like it had a big premiere. I think Chrishell might have been like, I really want a premiere for this movie. And I think the Step and a Repeat was probably like an 8x8 thing. So it looked like but it just tight shots of her on this one background. And I'm like, you could just buy a banner like this and just put it down and act like it's a Step and it's like 8x8. But what was fascinating, and I'm so excited for potentially a new season of Selling Sunset, because her non-binary girlfriend, G-Flip, they were pictures of G-Flip and Chrishell, and that's the relationship. I've seen pictures of them, but I really want to see how that works in real life, because that's a big move.
I know. And like they've been together for some time now, right?
Oh yeah, over a year, right?
Yeah.
But you go from one of those bald Oppenheim dudes, those little dudes, and then G-Flip, and I'm like, that's amazing. I want to know everything.
I know. I want to know everything. Her entire relationship trajectory has been very fascinating. Wild. But you know what? She's having fun. I love to see it.
I hope she's having
really
fun.
Happy.
If it's just an acting having fun and she's showing us how much she's having fun and she's secretly miserable, I would be completely bummed out. But that's like,
is she that good of an actress?
Well, this Lifetime movie, okay, I wanted to start off, by the way, just so you guys, the podcast she does, once again, is called Crown Jewels. I keep calling it Crown Royal. I don't know why. I think it's just because of the liquor. But her and Samantha Bush, I was trying to find a couple of royal stories just off the bat, and I'll give you two of them.
Okay.
I think we found out this weekend that Adele and the little ginger, Ed Sheeran, will have turned down an invite to play at King Charles' coronation.
Yes. Yeah. And so I sort of predicted, I can't remember now if it was on our podcast or on yours, but I sort of predicted this. Like, remember when there was the FIFA World Cup and it was in Qatar and all these celebrities were like vocally not opposing performing there? I had mentioned, I was like, I wonder, with everything that happened with Meghan Markle and all of the racism and Prince Andrew and everything, if there are going to be celebrities that publicly oppose performing. And that's what we're starting to see now. And I know that we don't have any specific reason why, but I would assume it's because they don't want to be associated with the monarchy given its current state, Well,
that was my thing too, is that like, and there's this natural, like, listen, I have no horse in this race. I don't care who performs, but I do have to imagine it's a slap in the face. Like, is it going to be is it going to be like O-Town end up performing at the King Charles? Like, I mean, is it going to be
Club 7? Club 7.
Well, they actually did reunite again, but who is going to play then? Like, if we're getting these big people, then and how much money will they have to listen, I'm willing to pay a couple million if you'll play. Like, who is going to say yes to this?
Probably like Robbie Williams, you know?
Which, by the way, there was a rumor that Robbie Williams' wife was going to join the cast of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for a hot minute. There was that rumor. Yeah, there was that rumor going around a month and a half ago.
I think I did read that.
And I was like, and I think it turned out to not be true, but I would genuinely be interested in watching Robbie Williams on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah. I think that would be good. I need to catch up on everything Housewives. I need you to tell me what's going on.
I'll tell you. We got a couple stories today. And the other story was South Park did a skewering episode on Meghan and Harry, and they said it was all about their privacy
tour,
their world privacy tour, where it was like, don't look at me, leave me alone, give me up. But they would go on a world tour, which is, you know, just talking about the press blitz and the media blitz for their docu-series in the book. And then the Daily Mail, being the Daily Mail, is like, Harry and Meghan looking to sue the creators of South Park. Daily Mail is completely full of horse crap when it comes to Meghan and Harry. But I just thought it was funny that this, you know, you could tell the glee that the Daily Mail has that South Park did an episode skewering Harry and Meghan.
Oh, absolutely. Any chance that they have to get their grimy little hands on a negative Harry and Meghan story, they're going to do it. And like, I saw clips of the episode and it was really funny the way that they like, you know, the concept of it and how they're like, don't look at me. And there's like fireworks going off and they're parading outside, protesting outside of their own home, or like going to Cartman's house and like looking out the window being like, is he looking at us? Why is he giving us that privacy?
Why are you looking at it?
And it's so, I thought it was really clever. But yeah, the Daily Mail is going to Daily Mail. And like, they're just, again, why are we talking about them still? Why do they still have a little thumbnail that you can instantly click to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's names at the top of the Daily Mail homepage? Yeah. Like, y'all, you're obsessed with each other.
I mean, by the way, and it's so tough because I already know I should be embarrassed when I read the Daily Mail every day, but it makes it even harder when I see that. I'm like, come on, guys. Can we at least do away with the Harry and Meghan tab? Just at least, like, just let's do one good thing. Okay, so talking about relationships that are potentially troubling, is that last week
it's like, whoa, are we talking about my life?
Yeah, Lex, I heard from the Outer Banks premiere that we recently had the Grammys and then the Super Bowl, and Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox I wanted to talk about, because this is just it's such an, I don't want to say interesting relationship, because I don't really even think it truly is. It seems like a very troubled relationship. Of course, at the Super Bowl last week, Megan Fox, unfollowed everybody except for 3 people. She followed Harry Styles,
Eminem,
and then the other, and then somebody else said, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
So these are all people supposedly Machine Gun Kelly has a problem with, which is interesting in itself. And there were all these rumors because she did an Instagram photo with, in the background, it talked about like, domestic abuse, by your partner. And then she just deleted her Instagram entirely. And then on Valentine's Day, we saw on the Daily Mail, they had a very fuzzy photo of them coming out of a marriage
counselors. Yeah.
Which is always just like, come on. I mean, this is such a staged photo. And I always like when they're like, it's just like Megan looks visibly disturbed. I'm like, it looked just like smudges. Like it did. I couldn't, if you could get disturbed from a smudgy photo.
She could be like mid sneeze. It's allergy season. It's so interesting how they're so quick to just be like, trouble in paradise. I'm like, first of all, was it paradise? Because it's like kind of fucking crazy. But look, those two are really, they are now to the point for me, and I would love to know your thoughts as well, where it's like, I can't even engage because it almost seems like they do this public tit for tat to like get off on it in private, and it's like,
well, there's a level of cringe now associated with them where I'm like, guys, I don't fully care. Like, I really don't. Like, if you guys love each other, that's awesome. If you don't, sorry, you'll find somebody else. The only time I actually did care was when there was like, accusations and hints that Machine Gun Kelly might be abusive to Megan Fox. Then I'm like, that shit needs to stop. And like, there is a fascinating conversation to be had in terms of even the new Pamela Anderson documentary and comparing them to Pam and Tommy, which I don't think they deserve that, but I think they compare themselves a lot to it. But anyways, Megan Fox then comes on, she does a notes app post on Instagram, back on Instagram. It's good when a celebrity does their notes app. And she goes, there has been no third-party interference in this relationship of any kind, because the rumor was that he had cheated.
With the guitarist.
She goes, Yeah, that includes, but is not limited to actual humans, DMs, all bots, or succubus demons. While I do hate to rob you of running random baseless news stories that would have been much more accurately written by ChatGPT, you need to let this story die and leave all of these innocent people alone now. Okay. So, and if we're going to go by what I just said of I don't care, what I will say is like, you know, it's too late to be quirky and funny. Like the succubus demons, like, girl, you're the one that deleted your Instagram account. Girl, you're the one that followed the, like, girl, you put out all
you're
this
the
stuff
one that commented, like, who said I didn't cheat with Sarah, the guitarist? Like, you played into the game and now you want to act like you're above it when you were like feeding the fire.
It's my least favorite part of celebrity culture is that all of a sudden they cannot, it seems like they can't handle what's going on in their personal life. So they choose to then blame all of us. Yeah, it's like, girl, if you just stay off Instagram, like you deleted your account, keep it that way. Like we don't have to do anything. Like, but the fact that I'm like, wow, you are so far removed from actually, like, I'm like, what do you think is happening? Who do you think is like, does Machine Gun Kelly blame us and you like buy it? I'm like, yo guys, it's all the people on Instagram, Meg. Like, you don't even get it. They're trying to break us apart. Like, I just have no sympathy for that. And I'm trying to be sympathetic, but I'm like, this to me is embarrassing. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just hope. Are you doing this of sound mind? Are you being put up to this? What is the thought process here?
I mean, this is the thing, right? It's a little bit for me, especially with these two, like Boy Who Cried Wolf, in the sense of like, to use the Harry and Meghan, it's like, we want our privacy, but then it's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. Like MGK and Megan Fox are so look at me. They're so like, we drank each other's blood. They filmed their proposal and posted and da. And then they're like, you're making up senseless stories. But again, it's like, there's only so many times that I will have empathy for you in this situation. And at a certain point, I'm like, I'm done, like you can't have it both ways. And there are these celebrities that think that they can have it both ways. And it's like, you're either like in it and you're going to be that public person and blah, 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 or you're somebody like, I don't know, like a Mila Kunis and Ashton who like seemingly are more private and normal. Don't show your kids, like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you can have a relationship and be a celebrity. It's possible without a like white hot spotlight on your relationship.
But I think they need the spotlight for it's like a third person in their relationship.
They play into all of this. And that was the fear of like, okay, so Megan, let's say just by our friends and people that have like broken up and like suddenly in a relationship because they found out disturbing information. So she breaks up, deletes all that stuff. Great. And then what happens? That's like Sunday, and then Monday rolls around, and then Tuesday, Machine Gun Kelly's like just texting you nonstop, trying to go through intermediaries. And then you're like, fine, I will go to a marriage counselor with you and I will let people photograph it for us, like, so there must be this thing of like, fuck, what did I do? Oh my God, like nobody really cares, or like, and then by the end of the week, you then go back on Instagram and then blame all of us. Yeah. And I was like, yo, I personally didn't do anything. I mean, if anything, I was really supportive of it. Like, okay, good.
I know. I'm like, I didn't even post about you guys. Yeah, and like, now you're mad at me.
You guys, it's not me. MGK, it's not me, buddy. I didn't do it. I swear.
It wasn't me.
And I'm like, this is so far, from punk rock. This is so far from, this seems like, punk rock was always about not caring. These people seem like they care so much. And that's just not punk rock to me.
They care so much. And like we're saying, it's like they feed off of the public attention. And without the public attention, I'm so curious what their relationship would actually be and like the level of substance that is there. I'm so curious. And I used to, like, again, I was so all in on them in the sense, like, I was like, oh my God, great. Like two people that are super like, out there
into astrology together.
Yeah.
Into like,
and now I'm passion. Like, oh, that was a little performative. And maybe like your twin flame thing isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be. I don't know.
Performative relationships are the worst, I think. I mean, it's it's like, because it's just, there's like, we've all had that relationship where we've been performative with, or we've all had that of like, well, I'm posting this to make this person feel better, to make this, but then it gets to an aspect of like, oh, it just feels all performative, where you're just like, how does the reality of this situation work? Like, I always see now them going to any party, anything, and they always have like the whole entourage with them. And I'm like, this doesn't how could this be fun in any stretch of the amount? Like, how can this be like, I mean, are you doing this with the expectation in 10 years? I know this potentially will all go away and we'll like, eat chili by a fire and then just laugh about everything. Is that, I mean, like, what is the goal here? What do you think long-term on any of this stuff?
I don't even know if they're thinking long-term, Ryan, because I think they're so up their own butts with like how it like self-importance right now. Like, I honestly don't know if they're thinking long-term. They think about, oh my God, people are giving us attention. Baby, we're so hot. Look at us. Everybody cares. I love you. No, I love you. And then, now we're fighting. It's just, I don't even think they're thinking that far. And maybe I'm being naive, but I don't know.
I just think that Instagram thing, it put me over the edge. I was like, I can't deal with this. I got stuff to do this week. I can't deal with you coming back on Instagram and then you're locking comments and you're like, yeah, don't do this stuff to me. Because I was like, is that Tyra Banks of like, I was rooting for you. I was rooting for you and you do this. I stick up for you and you do this to me, which is just so disturbing. Listen, so obviously they'll probably break up a couple more times this month. Hopefully it really isn't anything. Married. I don't know, man. I don't even just leave us out of it. Leave us out of it. Like, don't post about it. Don't post, like, just leave us out of it.
They never will.
Now see, like, you're behind on Bravo, but I do want to get your opinion even on this. Are you watching Vanderpump Rules this season? Have you been able to? You might not have, which is fine, but I haven't.
I started watching the first episode and then I was like, I'm so tired. I have to go to bed. So I'm behind on Vanderpump and Summer House, but like I've been following the Shayna Katie discourse on social media because
this is what I scream about anyways.
Like, what's going on?
Is that the show right now? Like, by the way, I'm really enjoying this season regardless. But once again, it proves my point of the show is happening on Instagram now.
Yeah.
The show for all of these shows seems to be a key component, even if you're talking about Real Housewives of New Jersey, which Joey Gorga and Joe Giudice bumped into each other in the Bahamas. And that was on Instagram. Did you see Gia
commented?
Oh, Gia jumps in. Like Gia don't give a shit about her uncle. Like, it is wild. And I totally respect what Gio was coming. Like, by the way, I talked about this on today's episode, you guys, but basically Joey Gorga bumped into Joe Giudice in the Bahamas and there was like this moment, like he was touching Joe Giudice's face and it was like, so many memories. So this, and somebody filmed it and Gia said, listen, like you've badmouthed my father so much, but of course you were able to get a post out of this, which talk about performative, and there is a very true aspect to that. But I do want to think that like all of this is performative, you guys. You're not telling. Gia's mom, Teresa Giudice, posted a photo with Jacqueline Larita a week ago in Vegas after they had not talked for years, had a 5-hour conversation. She got a post out of it. Yeah. Like if you're having real moments, maybe Instagram is not involved for anybody. So you can't pick and choose and gatekeep who everybody's trying. It's an attention economy. Everybody's trying to get the attention.
Of course. And it's like a part of, again, keeping that engagement and keeping people interested as a form of entertainment, right? And nobody loves entertainment more than watching other people, especially celebrities, like downfall. I hate to say it, but like people love a mess. Yes. Yeah.
And people love to root against you. I was watching one of your TikToks where you were talking about high vibrational. Like I want to do high vibration things and positive things. And I'm like, I want to too, but there's a lot of stuff that like really gets in the way for me and talk. Cause I'm like, this messes with my vibration because this isn't like, we have to realize the sandbox in which we're playing and which we're a part of. And we are a part of this. Like they expect us to run with this stuff. They expect us to leave a nasty comment on a photo of Raquel and Schwartz in front of Schwartz and Sandy's. We are a part of this as much as anything else.
So like what is going on with Raquel and Schwartz?
So this season, Raquel, obviously Schwartz and Katie broke up their marriage, I think 12-year relationship. And that is just insanely painful. And I, even going into the season, was just like, man, I just wonder what this was going to be like for them to relive this year of their lives on a reality show. And not only feel about it the way that you feel and your family and friends feel, but now how we feel. Now, like I said, we're a part of this now. Like we get to show and for the most part, everybody has been so team Katie in the sense of like, well, we saw how Schwartz was on the show. We saw how this is all played out. But so Raquel, I mean, this is the other thing. It's kind of been ruined for us that Schwartz does make out with Raquel at Sheena's wedding. And from my understanding, they really are just friends. Truthfully, like no even like hinting around or like that. But this past week's episode, Katie at the very end, they were in Schwartz and Sandy's in the premiere party. And Katie, rightfully pointed out, like, he was like, well, like, I just sometimes wonder if Schwartz and Sandy is like the cause of our breakup. And like, and he's like, I kind of like maybe chose it over you. And she goes, Tom, you chose everything over me. You always did that. Like that was like a crushing moment, because in that moment, that was 100% truth. And I'm not saying that Katie does not have fault in a relationship, but like we saw it time and time again, is that he did choose everything but her. And so that's why they weren't meant to be together. And Katie, by the way, I think is having a glow up. She looks insanely,
oh my gosh,
like
she looks
glowing,
fantastic.
And she's telling her truth. And I think that's in direct diametrically opposed to Schwartz, who doesn't really he's charming, he's all that stuff, but I don't think he necessarily tells the truth.
And it kind of seems like he goes on with things like almost chooses to take that like golden retriever, like I'm just like an innocent person, like I don't really know the consequences of my actions.
I'm so sorry.
And then after he's like, darn, I did it again. And it's like you can't do that,
But he's so charming that people are like, oh, okay,
it's okay, come on in, buddy.
Listen, Schwartz is probably a blast to hang out with and stuff, but it's probably not a blast to be married to.
Correct.
So anyways, then Raquel, which I just really, because her story has been about her and DJ James Kennedy breaking up, and she's like trying to figure out what the heck she's doing with her life. She's completely lost, which is very relatable. And I'm like, oh, wow, like trying to find, because DJ James Kennedy has moved on, and that kind of shocks her. But then she posted this photo of Schwartz on Saturday in front of the Schwartz and Sandy's sign of them hugging and like doing this, and said just cause, or cuz, C-A-U-S-E, like cause. And I thought, okay, that's a play on of like the cause of our relationship breaking up with Schwartz and Sandy's. So it was a little like,
really?
It was a little pointed. I mean, it's very messy. It's very reality show. And Katie, like all the comments were like, oh, gross. You're not a girl's girl, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people, I like Raquel, but Katie was like, yo, you guys, you really think you did something here, but these comments ate, LOL. And because a lot of these were just pro Katie comments. But at the same time, I just like, I mean, imagine the reality of that situation of your ex being on a television show and you'd never know what's going to come up on Instagram with some, like now we're in this part of the show where the show isn't really even theirs anymore. It's ours. And now we're going to comment. And then Raquel, this is one of the biggest posts Raquel's ever posted. It got over like 55,000 likes. And I'm like, oh shit, I just didn't think Raquel would ever try to like be barbed like that. Yeah. Like, is she wanting to be a villain? Is she wanting to be that person? Which seems very not Raquel.
Okay, so I was talking about this with a couple of people at OBX, and they were saying,
Outer Banks.
Outer Banks. Sorry.
OBX. Short I thought I was like, is that a new workout program? OBX?
No, at Outer Banks, I was talking to a couple of TikTokers, and they were talking about Vanderpump, and they were like, it seems like DJ James Kennedy's new girlfriend is like trying to get her 15 minutes. And they're like, well, that's like what Raquel did, right? Like she finally got in there, was a main cast member. People loved her. And now she's trying to maintain that status without DJ James Kennedy.
But we saw Raquel on those other seasons. She could barely speak. Like, how did she? I mean, it's hard for me to believe that she really was gunning for this lifestyle when it's like, she was so shy, so not like she was learning to stand up for herself. It seemed very genuine to me in the fact that it didn't seem like she was pushing to be a star. That's why I'm like, oh yeah, she did the long play and like hoped that DJ James Kennedy, they would break up. Like to me, that doesn't even fully make sense. I don't know.
So what do you think is happening? Like, what do you think from like a psychological, let's therapy armchair expert this.
I think Raquel, and then we'll get into Sheena in a second because Sheena kind of exacerbated the problem. Raquel, I think, is that, okay, well, I am on a show. I am kind of broke. I do want to, like, these are truly her friends. She does hang out with them all the time. Like she hangs out with Sheena all the time, Tom and Ariana all the time. Like, so she is a part of this friend group. And if she is somebody that like lived with her parents and then was DJ James Kennedy's girlfriend, she really is finding out her life. In fact, on the show, like I always say, did she just wake up like out of like frozen in ice after 50 years? Because it doesn't seem like she knows anything. She even found out, she said Sandoval taught her the word boundaries. She didn't know what that was before. And like, there just seems to be a basic level of like not knowing how anything works with Raquel. And
like so she's naive.
Yeah.
So, and she's almost growing up in front of our eyes.
Yes. So I think it's going to be messy in certain ways. Do I think she should have posted the thing with Schwartz? No. For the show, I think it's good overall because it kind of stokes that fire. Now Sheena jumps in, and Sheena did an interview with Page Six where she talks about that, because she's the one that supposedly tried to push the Raquel Schwartz thing. And she goes, no, I checked with Katie. I have text messages that said this is okay. That I said, that she was fine with it. She wanted Tom to move on. And so Sheena says this, and then Katie, this is why it's wild.
The receipts, baby.
Katie then goes on her Instagram and starts actually posting the text from Sheena. And she wrote, back in May after we spoke in Vegas, I told Sheena I wasn't down for this shit. So keep going with this diabolical nonsense. And she posts the screenshot, and the screenshot is Sheena goes, so was that you putting up a front? And Katie's like, when in public, that's how I present. And Sheena goes, literally, why would I think you were lying to my face? You were telling me how much happier you are, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been happy for you. And then Katie goes, anyway, I just wanted to let you know I tried to RSVP for your wedding, but couldn't. And then Sheena's like, I talked to Shelby and she said, you're booked in. You literally told me in Vegas that you want Tom to move on because it'll make it easier for you because you had already. And you encouraged me to push him to move on. And Katie goes, I want Tom to move on. Of course, that's not really what I'm getting at. And Sheena's like, so that's what I've been doing because that's what you asked me. The past few weeks, we had Brock's family in town, B-Day, Mother's Day, a flood twice, travel across the country, and just started therapy. I'm not even doing my own wedding planning. And then she goes on in another one, and Katie titles this, I was pretty clear that I didn't mean or co-sign shit. So why go through with this? Mm-hmm. And she goes, Sheena, get a fucking grip. My life is a fucking mess. And then Sheena goes, I understand that now. When we caught up in Vegas, it was a very different story. You gave me, so forgive me for being caught off guard at the moment. And Katie's like, I was nothing but supportive when you went through your divorce. And Sheena goes, I want to be here for both of you and Tom. You're my friends and I love you both. And then the next slide, Katie goes, after starting to lay some groundwork, inviting Schwartz and Raquel to her birthday, but not me, it was very obvious, but too busy to check in with me. And then Katie goes, I'm selling my house, dividing my belongings, trying to find somewhere to live, record podcasts. You are telling Lala how much Schwartz means to you and blah, blah. Now, no, girl, sorry. You only want to be there for him and you're using him to create drama and I'm not here for it. And then Sheena goes, and I've been stressed as fuck raising a kid, wondering if I still have a job. So I'm sorry I haven't checked in the past few weeks when I was convinced in Vegas you were so much happier right now. I'm so sorry that's not the case. And this is hard. I know how fucking hard it is. I've been there too. And then Katie writes, always making it about you. And she's like, no, I'm explaining I have empathy for the situation. And she goes, you don't. And then, sorry, I'm going to keep going, but I think this is fascinating information.
It's so good.
In another post or another comment, Katie goes, yeah, I was very supportive during Sheena's divorce and wouldn't have dreamed of meddling this way. Grief isn't linear, and I have said all kinds of shit, cried and screamed, all while being under a microscope and thought I had actual friends during these conversations. She said I told him I would wing woman for him in regards to Tom. And I said, yeah, when he is ready, he could probably use some encouragement from some friends. Did I have 17 drinks? No, LOL, that was hyperbole. I'm finding humor is still lost in social media. I remember our entire 10-minute conversation, Sheena. What I meant by that was it wasn't the environment to take anything I was saying seriously. It was cheeky, girly chat. And I certainly didn't think she would throw it in Tom's face either. Do you have cheeky, girly chat, Lex? Is that a cheeky, girly chat? Is that, yeah.
I mean, there's different layers of chat, right? Like there's when you're one-on-one with one or two of your closest friends, and that's when you're really honest about what you're feeling. But if you're having cheeky girly chat, I could have a conversation with the same person about an ex-boyfriend, let's say, and 1 week I'm good and I'm I feel really good, I'm happy and blah blah blah, and the next week I'm bummed out. It's not linear. It's not linear.
And listen, I've been through a divorce. I know exactly what she's talking about. I know. Listen,
and so has Sheena. That's why
there are times when you save face around your friends. There's a time when you're like, no, I'm good. There are times when you joke around. There are times of yeah, I want Tom to be happy or I want my ex to be happy. There are those times. And when you're presented with those things happening, it's still so hard. And Sheena does know this. And Sheena does have these kind of sort of receipts. And I really like Sheena, but it is funny. Sheena knows that this is real. Sheena, just don't hook up with somebody in the friend group. But at the same time, there is in this moment, and I will talk to Sheena about this, is that were you choosing the show or were you choosing your friendship? Because it feels like you might have been choosing the show because you know that him and Raquel pushing for that would make great storyline. And like, listen, we still have Katie upset, and this is about to happen on the show. So we get this whole season of Katie upset from this point on. Plus now we have Katie upset in real life. And you're like, damn, they're not even filming. And she's going through this pain and they're not even filming.
And now it's about Scheana again.
And also, but also guess who gets excused?
Who?
Raquel? Schwartz.
Oh,
we're not blaming Schwartz.
Oh my God.
Schwartz is literally like,
sure.
he's like a little handicapped dude that's like, oh, the poor guy can't think for himself or do anything. He can't, sometimes he gets, we're treating him like the child that we've always treated him like. And now we are once again, all the women are fighting and he is just scot-free of like,
yes,
I don't know. I can't talk very good. Like, what is going on?
I have no idea. But okay, I mean, she also is like, I don't know if I have a job. Is she referencing the fact that like she's trying to find a storyline here to remain relevant on the show?
Listen, that is the thing. The first 2 episodes, Scheana's barely in them. From my understanding, the Brock wedding, which is covered, like Brock's not really in the show at all. He's actually talked about that. And so I think there is that kind of thing to produce. I will say, I think Scheana does it better than other people. Like, I'm like, this is pretty messed up and like pretty good. Like this is a reason why Sheena's been there for 10 seasons. But I think they've always tried to find a way. Like Sheena's been one of the outsiders from the very first season when she used to get picked on by Stassi and Dodie and Katie, like she was always that odd man out. And she's kind of remained that way in a lot of ways. But like, I don't know how Katie would be friends with Scheana at this point. Like, this is just like, dude, there's like some basic things that you should know not to do. And this is one of them. Don't hook one of our friend group people, even if she doesn't like Raquel. It's not cool.
And also, like, I think the thing that is so, especially as we watch this play out on social media and on television, like, we are watching it for entertainment purposes. Again, both on social, Katie dropping receipts and what we're seeing play out on the show. But at the end of the day, this is still their real fucking lives. Like Katie is going through a
Katie's
divorce.
Truly divorced. Like, Katie's truly like,
and her friend made out with her like ex-husband, who I don't even know if the ink is dry on their divorce.
And just to assuage, like the Raquel Schwartz relationship is truly just friends. They did make out at Scheana's wedding, but it is just, I think they made out maybe twice, but it's just friends. And that really is it. And I think, okay, but also potentially, I always think, look behind that of like, okay, was that also posted to distract maybe from somebody else Schwartz is dating? Is that I don't think Schwartz tells us the truth about what's going on in his real life. And even like, you can be upset at Schwartz for like, how he treated Katie, blah, blah, blah. But I would be more upset for Schwartz for not sharing his real life on the show. Yes. And that's the part where I'm like, okay, if people are throwing each other in the bus and all that stuff, you guys do owe us. If you're gonna, fight with all the women,
like Robin.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like all the cast members, you then owe us what's really going on with Schwartz, or to convince him that he needs to sign this other person on the dotted line to come on the show. And because everybody else is doing it, everybody else is sacrificing. Like
Katie putting her shit out there like this.
Well, Katie's even honest saying, I've hooked up with a couple people since, made out with a couple people, but Schwartz is like, oh, I don't know. I don't know.
And he has.
Oh, he has.
He's like a, C-lister with a couple restaurants in LA.
Good looking dude.
Like girls are coming into Tom and Schwartz and Sandy's and like they're flirting their little hearts out. Come on.
If this was your personal life that you weren't on a reality show, of like, keep whatever you want secret. It's your business. Yep. You're on a reality show. If you do not want to show us the reality of your life, I then question why you should be there. I do start going like, okay, you're not that charming. You're not that entertaining. Like I've seen a lot of you, like, I want to know the reality of your situation. I want to know how quickly you picked up. I want to know, and there's just a lot of rumors about Schwartz. And I don't think we're going to get the honest truth out of him. So I think it needs to be dragged out of him. And that's where I wish Scheana would put the attention of like, drag the truth out of this dude. Don't try to upset Katie and make her go ballistic.
Yeah. And of course, but Scheana won't do that because I also think Sheena's like a little bit meek. And I think it's like easier for her to have a conversation with Katie because Katie is direct. Whereas like how far is a conversation between Scheana and Schwartz going to get?
Yeah. I mean, it's like literally,
like, is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. But here it is. We're talking about it. We're excited for the show. So it is this really damning thing of like, man, that's messed up. Cause
and so I
this
don't
is like
know,
real.
Ryan, like, I don't know about you, but there is still always a part of me in like the back of my mind that's like, remember at the end of The Hills where they moved the Hollywood sign
Yes.
screen?
Yeah.
And I'm like, are they all in on this? And like,
Okay.
really, Sheena and Katie have like a second text chat where they're like, we're going to say this and we're going to say this and I'm going to post. And they're all in on it.
I wish I could say yes. That is not the case in this. I do know for a fact this is very real.
Okay.
But I will say, like, but listen, I do think Sheena did try to push that Raquel thing in terms of getting something that would be good for the show. Yeah. So I think, you'll try to maneuver it to like make things work. But for all intents and purposes, the show is more real than I think people give it credit for. Like, is that, they know they have shoot dates that are scheduled out. Like, oh, you're going to be shooting the scene with this person today. And let's remind everybody what's going on at this point. Like those things are, but then there's a lot of things that are actually naturally happening. So we'll see, but I'm just like, oh man. But then you see how popular it is. And you're like, okay, I guess whatever makes this show popular. I think I get to talk to Sheena this week and I'm really excited.
Oh, this is good timing.
Well, we'll see. I mean, who knows? This is what also worries me. When something like this ballistic happens, I always think that then Bravo and all that's going to put a lockdown on them of like, you can't talk to anybody now. You cannot, because don't you know, like all of this drama, it's like, there's not cameras there. Like you're missing out on good content.
Yep.
And then the show becomes the Instagram show more than the show.
Right. And like, is anybody watching the show to see what played out like a year ago, or are they watching what's happening now as a result of that, That's
the thing, is that they need to find a way to like edit a show in a day so we can have it that moment, because
they need like Love Island rules.
Kind of. I mean, that's why, like, at least with Summer House this season, I like it that they're at least locked in one location for the most part. Like we go to the Summer House. That's where we go every weekend, and then shit happens, which, by the way, you've only missed one episode. The next episode comes on tonight on Monday night. So you can still catch up easily, but it's
I will.
Sadder so far because it seems like it's more about growing up, and trying to like realize that maybe we shouldn't be partying as hard. Maybe we shouldn't. And I'm like, I don't know if I want that. I don't know.
I'm not going to lie. I started watching the first episode and I like turned it off because I was like, everybody seems a little bit bummed out. Like, there's the new people and everything, but like everybody kind of seemed tired.
It was like on horse tranquilizers. That was it. It was like, dude, it was like a Saturday night and they were like all in bed at like 11. And I was like, wait, what is going on? I said, is this a Sunday? No, this is a Saturday. You get your ass up and you go drink an espresso martini. Like,
exactly.
You go do some stupid shit for me. Like, and that's the reality of our lives too. It's like, like sometimes I was just hungover yesterday and I was just moaning to myself in my bed. Like I couldn't even concentrate on TV. That probably wouldn't have been fascinating television,
Oh my God. Yeah. But also like, I don't know. The Summer House cast is interesting. What I will say that I enjoy or appreciate as we were talking about things playing out on Instagram versus the show, is Lindsay and Danielle were very tight-lipped on what actually happened between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I still don't really know. I know it's coming this season. I think it has a little bit to do. Obviously, it has to do with Carl and the engagement and stuff. But like, I think they did a good job of that. But I'm also like proactively sad because I don't want them to not be friends. And it looks like things get so bad.
Kyle's on the show today. Like I have Kyle on the show today. And my big question was like, are you and Carl okay? Like, are you like that? I said, isn't it funny that like the one relationship I want to know the most about is you and Carl? I don't like you and Amanda. I'm like, okay, whatever you guys, but you and Carl, are you guys okay? Like I need you guys to be okay. And well, but then you think about the reality of our lives too, is that we do lose touch with people. We do start growing up in different ways and growing apart from each other. And and then sometimes it's not dramatic. Sometimes it's like, I'll never fucking talk to that dude ever again. Sometimes it's just subtle. Sometimes it just kind of naturally. Sometimes it just
fizzles. Apart. Yeah. And like, you can only be legacy friends for so long. And then there's just it doesn't make sense. But are they okay?
They are. They had dinner. They had dinner a couple of weeks ago because they wanted to like talk before all this stuff started, But yeah, Carl's no longer a part of Loverboy. He's an investor in Loverboy, so he wants it to succeed. But I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more about that this season and what Carl's actual role at the company was. And I think in our minds, we're all like, oh, they're a happy family and they just work together all day and then they go home and then they date each other and like, and just life is never that simple and like that put together, you know?
Correct.
Okay, so this weekend in New York, Countess Luann is still doing her cabaret shows, and it is I think it's this place called 54 Below in New York, and I've seen her cabaret show a lot. Great stuff.
I don't want to hear this story. I know it's coming.
A wild weekend of shows. Somebody legitimately threw up in the audience, threw up on her, and she handled it gracefully, I hear, you know. And by the way, I was like, oh my God, is that Dorinda? And I'd made that joke before Dorinda had actually come, and Dorinda got shit canned at the Countess Luann show. There's video of it. She had to be escorted out, supposedly. Queens of Bravo had some footage where we hear Dorinda arguing with the staff. And
I mean, I love Dorinda. Is that bad to say? Like, no. Of course she got belligerently drunk and then mad as she was escorted out of Countess Luann's cabaret show. Well, like, of course.
You would. Well, and the sad thing is, like, they talked to her earlier in the show, and she did this really beautiful, like, we love each other. We've known each other for so long. And it was this kind of beautiful thing that you would want, like, oh, that's nice. But that was earlier in
and then she had 7 espresso martinis.
Somebody wrote Queens of Bravo and wrote, hi, Queens of Bravo. I was at the Countess Cabaret tonight in New York City with my girlfriends. It was wild. I can confirm that there were more drunk people there than at the club. It was so fun. As a longtime fan of Dorinda, I was thrilled to see her there. She arrived and welcomed a full spectacle and was helping the crowd get pumped up by encouraging them to sing and dance in the aisle. She was clearly wasted by the end and was heard screaming at waiters, staff, and other guests, even when Countess Luann was performing. It was crazy. After she was escorted out for her bad behavior, she was seen outside waiting for a cab, clearly unable to walk without assistance. My friends and I kept trying to take a pic with her, but she yelled at us too. And then the person goes, it was awesome. I love like what a turn of like, she yelled at me. Yes, it was amazing.
It was crazy.
And she goes, the Countess Cabaret is a must. I hope you enjoy this. And please I love it. It was like, saw somebody completely belligerent, not able to get to a car. I highly recommend the Countess.
I got yelled at by that person. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Like, I love that the positivity of this. And then there's like footage of her, or we get to hear the audio of her yelling at somebody. And then what was so great, Dorinda went live, which is always a bad move.
Oh,
Dorinda's
no.
one of those people that gets tanked on a regular basis, but wakes up early. And therefore she says, no, see, I'm good. I wake up early. Like, it's one of those, like, I don't know how your body processes alcohol. Glad you does it better than mine. But she starts reading the comments, you guys. And she's like, yeah, last night was fun. And then she's like, no, I didn't get, and she has her big goofy glasses on, her big old man up glasses. And she's like, I didn't get escorted out at all. That's not true. And then she's like, read all the comments, and you see her recognition of like, no, that's just not, that's not true. No, that's not true. And, but my thing is, like, I love Dorinda, and like, what a great story. But at the same time, we have so many stories like this of Dorinda. Like, it is.
Yes.
And even the being put on pause when Roni was still Roni a couple of seasons ago, part of that was because of the anger she would exhibit when she was drinking alcohol. And it's weird, all this time has passed, a pandemic, all of this stuff, and she's still in the exact same place. We saw her on Ultimate Girls Trip. We saw her, and, you know, Countess Luann, obviously, she's an alcoholic, and she's admitted that. And I think she's fallen off the wagon a couple of times, but still, you know, I mean, I don't know if I'm trying to credit, but, you know, she's still able to go out and do this show and be functional. And Dorinda seems like a non-functional alcoholic at this point. So there's like this really sad element that she still just can't accept that what, from our viewpoint, is it seems like she has a very big problem. And even though it's entertaining, it's potentially the thing that's going to keep her off TV in the long run.
Yes. And I think what's hard with Dorinda, and like what I've seen historically, and like, you're right. Like I just said, you know, I'm like, I love, like, that's like a funny story to hear about Dorinda and her reacting and being like, oh, I don't know. But again, at the end of the day, it's
I would have probably loved it if I was there.
Yes. But like, I think the thing that makes me feel for Dorinda, it's like, she gets so wasted sometimes. And it is so clear and evident to me that like, she has not processed like her husband's death, or like certain, like, she's not taking the steps to sort of like process. And it almost feels like now it manifests through her drinking and getting absolutely belligerently blackout drunk. And it's like, at this point, if you can't acknowledge that, like, that in itself is the problem, right? Like, I mean, Luann can acknowledge it. She's fallen off, but she can acknowledge it and continues to get back up. Like, Dorinda hasn't acknowledged that.
And then, yeah, she's just like, oh yeah, it was a bad night, but I'm sorry.
Man,
like she, on Ultimate Girls Trip, she would be
Bravo.
like, she would apologize immediately and then everything was fine. And I just feel like you see this pattern of behavior so much. And especially with Brandi Glanville getting kicked off the last trip, Ultimate Girls Trip, I think there's going to be a tightening of the belts in terms of even behavior. So it's like, it is weird. Now we're putting like, okay, what is acceptable behavior and what isn't? And especially though, when Roni Legacy, which is on and off the chopping block, is it happening? Isn't it happening? And this kind of stuff, I don't think helps fully like you think it would. People are like, well, she's a drunken mess. That'll be fun to watch. Kind of, but I think they're more interested in being able to see the dynamics between the women and potentially without the alcohol part of it. But Luann said at the show too about Roni Legacy, it is still going to happen, but they have now decided, and I think this is interesting, they've now decided they want the cast, not Bravo, wants Ramona in it. So they are, I think they are, and I think it's tough.
They're pulling
I think
a Friends cast where they're negotiating.
Yeah, favorite
together.
nations. Yeah, but I would think too, though, with that, you're in a real. I don't think they have a lot of room to negotiate. As like people are like, oh, they're legends. Yeah, they are legends. But remember, at the end of the day, any TV is there to sell soap. You're there to be sold advertising. At the end of the day, they want cheap, fun stuff to be able to show us. And there's only so much they're going to be willing to pay for. And then maybe now is not the time to be like, and we demand Ramona. And then somebody said Jill Zarin asked for too much money and she was the one that like, but then it's like, okay, well, if that is true, then get rid of Jill and just bring somebody else in that'll take less money. Like, it seems like a real easy, like, why would it hinge on Jill Zarin? Then get her out of there.
And didn't it say on Demois that it's like for sure shut down now, or that's not, it's now been.
Well, she said it's for sure shut down, but remember, anything can be shut down and anything can be brought back to life the next day. So I think they were really trying to gear up to film by now. And that part of it got shut down. They were like staffing, they were doing all this stuff. And then there were some money issues and I think what I do think in this interim of finding out when and if it's going to happen, they need to be a little bit more on like their kind of best behavior. Like, I truly don't think stuff like this, Dorinda, like helps the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I could be wrong. They might love like, oh my God, full blown alcoholism. I love to watch that. Yes.
No, but there's like sometimes like the thing with Dorinda is like sometimes it's too far. Like you just, named off from Ultimate Girls Trip. Like she takes it too far where it's uncomfortable. It's not entertaining anymore. It's like, oh, this is bad. Like you have a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that whole mess is happening. We'll see. And it's just always sad then Dorinda going on live and then, having to be confronted with her own behavior and not being able to accept it at all. So that's always sad and interesting. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, you guys started filming this past week. So cameras are up. I will say this is so Garcelle posted a picture with her, Sutton Strack and Crystal. Yeah. And listen, I'm in it. I reposted and I was like, my 3 favorites. Yeah. And then I started getting so many comments from girls on the picture that I posted that I just reposted from Garcelle's post. And this is unsavory for a gentleman to talk about, but I will say I did not notice this until everybody is that Sutton has a very obvious camel toe in these photos. And you can look at it on Garcelle's thing and it's like, and I got like over 100 messages going like, look at that. I'm like, I didn't even see it. Go to Garcelle's page.
My God, I'm going right now.
And it was not, listen, I look into her eyes. I don't look below the waist for anybody. And let me know.
I think she deleted it.
No, wait. No. Oh, wait. Oh, she did delete it. Oh my God. Okay, it was in that red fur coat one.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Maybe
Season
Queens
13. No screenshot.
Well, I okay, yeah. Okay, wait. Go to Queens of Bravo Plus.
Okay.
Because Queens of Bravo, by the way, they got their whole account taken down for some reason.
Stop. My God.
Do you see it?
Yes.
That's wild, right?
Oh my God.
I know. And by the way, Sutton already thinks I'm weird, so hopefully this won't get back to Sutton about me talking about. But I wasn't the one that even discovered it. Everybody else was telling me.
Yeah, you're like, I didn't even notice it at all.
I was like, heck yeah, they're all like stay on each other's teams. I love this.
Oh my God. That's quite the camel.
You disgust me. Yeah, that's what
I'm scared.
Yeah. So anyways, cameras are rolling. That kind of excitement is going to be on TV. Erica Jane still fighting her case. If you paid attention to the LA Times at all, there is even more. And I'm telling you, like, listen, Tom Girardi is a horrible, horrible man. And I got to tell you, I don't think Erica Jane's that great either. I highly suggest everybody read the LA Times article from last week where they tried to destroy this costume designer. And it's truly a wild article. But I wanted to bring up that Jen Shaw went to prison on Friday.
Yes.
She turned herself in, and that got me like kind of going down the road of prisons and studying. And the prison system is so wildly different. Like, you'll have a prison that is just the armpit, that is the scariest place ever. And then you'll have the quote unquote camp that Jen Shaw got assigned to in, I think, Bryan, Texas. And they call it a camp. There's no cell doors. It's an open living facility. You can buy an MP3 player through commissary. Their commissary list is like better than my 7-Eleven close to me. They get access to they have better healthcare than we do.
What?
And yes, and it's over. And so now, and she posted this post beforehand of like, I'm gonna, make good, and I cannot wait to I cannot wait to
be reformed.
Be reformed, but also I'm gonna let you guys know of my progress throughout. And I'm like, this is the point where I don't want to know your progress. I just go do your time. Just leave us alone. You do.
How is she going to let us know her progress though? Does she have a cell phone in there? Is she making content?
Well, I'm sure, dude. That's the other thing. I'm so confused about. It varies from prison to prison, because I always say I get on prison TikTok. They all have phones making TikToks in there. They have huge accounts on TikTok. These prisoners.
Oh my God! I didn't know that.
And some people, it's not an iPad, but they're a tablet. They'll have some prisons, they get their own tablet where they can just mess around on it. I'm like, come on, man.
I'm over here on tarot card TikTok. I'm like, I didn't know prison TikTok was a thing.
Oh yeah, you got it. By the way, just us talking about prison TikTok right now.
I'm now going to be on prison TikTok. Later. Yeah.
But I don't know. I just kind of think, I think it's this. All of our obsessions with celebrity and to be a celebrity. I read or I listened to Heather Gay's book, and one of the overwhelming things I took away from it is how much she wanted to be on this show and to be a celebrity, and how much she truly feel like it was religion. And now I feel like she thinks this is her life's work of being on television. And to me, that is one of the sadder things, because it's also very relatable. We're all like that. We all want to be special. We all want that. But then at a certain point, when you cross a line, and when I'm like, I don't need Jen Shaw to be special anymore. I don't need just try to make up for your shit and your family. That's it. Just take care of you and your family,
But I think, again, going back to the MGK Megan Fox thing, I think that maybe it is the fame bug that bites you. There becomes this obsession of having a third person who is public opinion in your bed as a means of validation. She feels like she needs to give that information and overshare and whatever, because I think that there's this fear that if you stop doing that, people will stop caring about you. Whereas we are kind of saying go away and do that and come back and have your Cinderella story. But I think that people feel like it's easier to stay in the spotlight than go away and try to come back.
Well, I also think that people wildly miscalculate. Okay, well, I was this before prison, I should be able to come right back to reality shows of some sort. That to them is a
crime.
Well, it's but then that to them is that's my profession. I'm like, no, that's not your profession. You just lucked out, or you wanted to be a part of this. Go work on your actual life, because being on a reality show is not, and reality shows end all the time. Even all those Vanderpump Rules people were talking about, you even see in that text of Sheena of listen, I don't even know if I had a job this season. They're all wanting this train to keep going, and eventually the train stops on everything. And that's the thing. We're okay, now you have this golden opportunity to try to become a real person away from everybody. You can work on yourself away from any of us. Imagine being told that you didn't have to do Instagram anymore. Or you could just there's something that I would imagine would be freeing after a while about that.
But I don't know. With some of these Real Housewives, I'm I don't know if they want to go away from that, because I don't know.
They absolutely don't.
Secure enough in their fame.
No,
I could see a big celebrity, but again, them.
Even Bethany Frankel. Even Bethany Frankel cannot. Gosh. She need you're what's the point of being rich if you're going to be this annoying all the time? What is the point of either you want to be a shitty stand-up comedian, or you want to be somebody that's rich and helps people. The weird mix of the two.
Do your own thing.
Like
she also, Kyle and her were just together
oh,
in
did
Aspen,
you? Yes,
right?
in Aspen. And by the way, I just want to point out Bethany Frankel unfollowed Kyle a long time ago. So for her to actually acknowledge Kyle in the sense that she did with a whole Instagram post was like, look at us all these years later. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, Bethany, like there's a reeking of desperation over there right now that fascinates me because you're
is
like,
she someone that's considered for legacy?
um, I think they had mentioned it, but at the same time, I hope they go as far away from Bethany as possible because Bethany thinks she's bigger than the show. And I always think the show has to be the main. Bethany will like, I've saved Roni, so many, blah, blah, blah. And I just think that's a bunch of shit. But I do think that she is probably now open to being in Roni Legacy more now ever than before. And I hope Bravo kind of sticks to their guns and goes, well, let's see if we can create something without you, because the constant taking credit for all of this stuff is exhausting. And I don't know. And by the way, I watched the whole Bethany Frankel, The Big Shot with B on HBO Max, where she tried to be like The Apprentice, and it sucked. Like her own reality show wasn't good. I mean, I love Bethany
so
getting married.
Carry a show.
No, not anymore. Not the way that she used. I think she's too far gone in terms of being any sort of relatability, and especially to other women. Like, I mean, do you look up to Bethany Frankel?
She's just mean. She's mean to like the Kardashians. She's mean to Taylor Swift. She's mean to everybody.
Well, speaking of that, and finally, we've really been in a silent period, even though we still see them every day, but there's been a quiet period with the Kardashians, and a lot of people say, oh, maybe that's because of the Balenciaga scandal, the Kanye stuff, all of this stuff. I mean, we still see them every day, but we don't have the third season of the Hulu show, which is fascinating. If you look at how back to back those other seasons were, and we know the Travis Barker wedding is filmed. So they are holding this third season for some reason. I don't know what that exactly is.
And they're filming the fourth season right now, I'm pretty sure.
I believe so. Yeah. And Kim just launched her new Skims wear shot by Harmony Korine, who directed Spring Breakers. And what an interesting choice to, I don't know.
With all those aliens.
Still hasn't, all the aliens that she was, but I mean, what is your thought? Do you think this is a quiet period? Do you think this is by design? Do you think, have you thought about this at all? I think you always have to watch them for the moves that they make.
I think it is absolutely intentional, but I feel like I've said this a little bit before, but like, I think that this is like the beginning of the end. It's never going to end with the Kardashians. They are, the first family of royal TV, reality TV. But I just feel like the overconsumption, the opulence, like there isn't the same audience for that as there once was. And you want to talk about relatability and where they started to where they are now. Like even the show, sometimes you're watching it and it's like, go on, girl, give us nothing. Like you can barely care to keep up with what they're trying to do. So I just think that maybe people are just kind of like over, like we've gotten everything we can get out of them in terms of a reality show.
Well, and then buying a new car, Kylie buying a new her Palm Springs mansion or whatever. I don't know if now is the time.
Exactly.
Like, it is weird. We are picky about our showing of opulence of wealth. And like, how many times can you keep going to that well to let us know that you can buy all of the eggs in the world? Like, listen, I don't care how expensive eggs are. We'll buy all of them. We have our own egg makers. Like there's this, it's kind of this thing of like, then what are you good for? What do you do? What do you stand for? All of these things. And even the what do you stand for, that was even on shaky ground this past year because of associations, the Kanye, the Balenciaga. And, the Kardashians sometimes now at this point, you feel like you're watching a one family wish fulfillment show where you're like, they get everything. They get everything. Mm-hmm. Like, do we get anything? Do we get, like, this isn't even actually entertaining anymore. It's just them getting more. And I do wonder, and listen, never count a Kardashian out. Like I'll eat my words probably next week, but it's that weird feeling of like, how are we feeling about them?
And I think that people like, I certainly know before when season 2 came out and everything, I was like, I'm like kind of done with them. I need a break from the Kardashians. It was like over stimulation of the Kardashians after the wedding and everything. But like,
and she went hard on that Pete Davidson relationship and really did a 180 and went like, she was like, they were talking to kids, man. And then that was like, and I think she even realized that was a miscalculation potentially.
Yes. And then, the whole Kanye thing, like it was just all too much. But this is the thing. You still like what? Now we have Kendall and Bad Bunny. Like,
oh my God, I forgot to say that Kendall is explain this to me. Like, no offense to Kendall.
I
Obviously,
don't
she's gorgeous, but like
know.
Bad Bunny seems like a wackadoo. And I mean that in a complimentary way. I mean that he seems like real, like, what the hell are Bad Bunny and Kendall Jenner talking about? Because Kendall sometimes is like watching wood dry, like you're paint dry on wood. You're just like, what is like, and
No,
listen,
but
I get she's
Ryan,
gorgeous. I get that she's every girl's dream fantasy, her and Hailey Bieber, but I don't get it.
But Ryan, you know what else weirds me out? So Bad Bunny is an artist. He has, like Miley Cyrus or Madonna, like different characters that he's playing or portraying with his fashion and whatever.
Yeah.
And everyone is like talking about how he's in his Brody Jenner era and now he's dating Kendall.
Oh my God. What if he does a Bennifer where that first time J-Lo and Bennifer got together and he started like tanning and he was wearing fake tanner and suits? What if Bad Bunny starts dressing like a Brody Jenner / Lord Disick?
He is dressing like him.
I just want to know what you talk about. Cause like, it would just comfort me sometimes if Bad Bunny would leave a date with Kendall and be like, oh, what the fuck was she talking about? Like, that was boring as hell. But maybe she's the most fascinating person alive. Who knows?
I just think it's
I just
PR.
don't see it on the show.
I really think it's PR. And perhaps I'm just looking at him looking like Brody Jenner now. But
oh my God.
I'm like, I know there's like a tweet about it. Bad Bunny is obviously so popular, but his music is like Latin music. It's not, English speaking, but I'm curious if this is like a way to, tap into the mainstream, like continue to be talked about coming off of the Grammys. He opened the Grammys, he won Grammys, and coming off of that now entering like that mainstream. Like I had friends texting me being like, I don't even know who this is opening the show. And I love Bad Bunny, so I know his music. Yeah. But like, I just think, again, it's like, what is 2 + 2 = 4? Like, you need me. We can do a little Kardashian, a sprinkle of a small Kardashian story and be, in the mainstream media cycle, but it's not anything that's huge or breaking. I
always want to romanticize these people that are going like that. Bad Bunny's like, yo, man, all I need to concentrate is making good music and do good performances. This other aspect of it to me is like, oh man, you're going to play along with this other PR aspect of this of like, dude, you're so loved. Like I said, I've tried to get into Bad Bunny. I've listened to his newest album a couple of times now, and I think I'm starting to hear it a little better, but I'm like, I know he has this passionate fan base of people even written me of just how much they love him. I'm like, go towards that light. Don't go towards the Kendall Jenner light. No offense to Kendall. I know you mean a lot to tall people, but you know,
to people with long, slender hands.
Look, you guys, look how long my hand. She wanted to prove to us how long her hand was. Oh, by the way, and also the Emily Ratajkowski, Eric Andre breakup. Did you have any? Gone too soon, gone but not forgotten. They already broke up.
After that nude photo, that they broke up. I know. If they are actually broken up, I'm bummed out by that because I really liked that. I made a whole TikTok around it about how funny guys finish first. And like, I saw that where she's like, when your latest situationship ends. And I was like, no, why, well, God, why?
She's probably scouring open mic nights looking for the next comedian. She was like, Pete Davidson, Eric Andre. And which, by the way, I had no, like, of course, I didn't think that was such a weird pairing. Like, and also, I don't think Eric Andre is ugly. I
loved them as a pair. It made sense to me.
A lot of people with Eric Andre. So Eric Andre went to the acting school that I taught at and worked at. And I hate to like burst Eric Andre fans' bubbles, how he's insane. Eric Andre is one of the hardest working actors that I've ever met in my life. This dude, I'll have to find it. Like, he wrote down like the things he does this is before the Eric Andre show, but not too long before. And this guy would just run lines. Him and my friend Angelique Cabral, who's on a bunch of TV shows, they would just run lines together. And he would just he would play ping pong during running lines, trying to get the lines, but he was so dedicated. So it takes a lot of work to be that insane or to come off that insane. Yes. And I will say, one of the hardest working actors that I remember going, oh man, I got to take a note from what this guy does.
Yeah, I got to step my game up.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like so interesting to hear that somebody who comes off so like casual and nonchalant and like, they haven't even planned their next step is probably very behind the scenes, knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, but I almost like that
that's very attractive, you know?
Well, I like that it also doesn't seem fake. Like sometimes the Kardashians will telegraph their movements. And for me, it's like, okay, but if you're always working hard at what you do and what the craft of it is, there I think is glory in that in the long run. And people will really kind of, I think, stick it out with you fan wise, or like, oh, this guy's really putting his heart and soul, no matter what it is, into something. Okay, we always talk. This could go on forever. Thank you, Lex. What's the plans for Lex this week? What are we doing? We have the OBX premiere. You got Crown Jewels. I believe every Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, so recording Crown Jewels tomorrow on Tuesday today when this comes out. And then Wednesday, my sister's coming from Toronto.
What are you guys doing? Are you gonna go get the Hailey Bieber smoothie at Erewhon?
So no, I've had it though before. It's very sweet. I'm
$17.
Yeah. But I'm going to Miami for a bachelorette, and she's looking after my dog and staying with some friends. So I'm there Thursday to Sunday, and then she's here till Wednesday. But we are gonna go to the new Super Mario Land at Universal Studios.
Oh, awesome!
And go to Toad's Cafe.
Oh,
I'm very excited.
I love that. Well, have a great time in Miami too. That's going to be wild. Miami.
Oh no, sorry. Let me be clear that this is not Miami party. This bachelorette is like we're doing like a private yoga class and like tennis and all this.
Why are we doing Miami then? I feel like then just go to Oklahoma or something. Like you can do it anywhere.
It's just the way it worked out, and it's the most expensive weekend because it's the South Beach Food and Wine Festival, and we're all like, oh my good God, why?
Well, you only get married once or twice, so it'll be worth it. Guys, the podcast though, Crown Jewels, not only go subscribe to it, but rate it 5 stars. You love Samantha, you love Lex, and Lex has been on here so much. So do me a personal favor, go over there and rate that 5 stars, and make sure you check it out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all podcasting outlets from the good people over at Betches Media. And then always go follow Lex on TikTok, go follow her on Instagram, and she's just great. So thank you so much for doing this once again. You're great.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. Bye.
Bye.